We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network. Again, TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley. Facebook, the Insightful Players Series. Coach Carew doing tremendous things with Insightful Player. And Insightful Players partner with NFL players who are doing great, that are great role models to empower youth. The NFL players are featured in the book with even more stories at insightfulplayer.com. You can purchase the book, and they also offer valuable education programs, including schools assemblies. So remember to go to insightfulplayer.com. And I'm really excited to welcome the program former NFL player, Insightful Player, Danny Clark. Danny, thanks for calling.
Oh, man, I'm glad to be here, my friend Neil. I appreciate you having me out here today.
Oh, absolutely, Danny. And again, as I looked at your career and specifically enough, being in the NFL for so many years, it must be really an honor in so many ways to last that long in this sport, because a lot of times the career in the NFL is a very short career, but you're able to stay on for a long time and play at a very good level.
Yeah, the NFL is surprisingly called, it stands for not for long, and so the career span usually is about 3 to 4 years, and I was blessed to be drafted in the 7th round, where usually those guys don't make it past training camp. So I made that first training camp, and I had the opportunity to play 11 seasons throughout 12 years, which was truly a blessing, far beyond what I had expected on my own merit.
Yeah, definitely. And in a lot of ways, we see these things and we say, wow. And so one of the questions I want to kind of delve into, our listeners are probably wondering, did you always want to be an NFL player, Danny?
Oh, it's so funny. I started playing football at about 8 years old, and my dad has a video, which I have at my home today. My dad gave it to me for my 30th birthday. And it was a video. I was holding a baseball bat, and my dad says, "Hey, what would you like to be, young man, when you grow up?" And I'm holding a baseball bat, and I says, "Well, I like baseball, but I want to grow up to be a football player." And my dad put down the video that broke me down to tears when I saw it. I saw it when I was 30, and I did it when I was about 8 years old. So needless to say, I've dreamt of being it, but it was such a pipe dream, and I can even dive into further discussion about my path, getting into the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. I have 1,000 questions for Danny, and really just interesting things in our listeners, because I interview so many professional athletes and so many people that have reached the highest level in their profession, and the story's quite interesting. But you're one of the first, honestly. I've asked many sports athletes or even entertainers, did you want to be this when you grew up? So you reached your childhood dream, and I think that a lot of it you can definitely look to your family as one of the reasons why you were able to make it, right? They were very supportive growing up.
Absolutely. I was raised by my dad. He got custody of me at age 2. And my mom was an integral part of both. She felt that my dad was a better facilitator in raising a young boy to a man. And they both agreed to let me, come up under my dad. And, he didn't force football on me. We were just playing catch in the front yard. And I did not think that football was a contact sport because it was on catch, So, to believe it or not, I had no idea what it took as far as academics and discipline to be able to play the game of football. And my dad always held a carrot in front of me. He realized once football was a passion of mine, and he knew it was my passion, and he would dangle it out there like a carrot, so to speak, and use it to get all my other things accomplished, which were more important, which is education. I couldn't get below a C in grade school, junior high or high school. And so if you got a C, you couldn't go play that football, that carrot that you're looking for. And so I think my dad did a great job of keeping me focused on what my aspirations were, but he knew that was not it, and that was not the end game, or once you reach that goal, that is, you hit the top of the food chain. And I think that, my dad just really did a good job of keeping me, focused on my academics first through the way of football.
And Danny, when you're talking about again, your father and the great role model that he was. You're right. He didn't look at, okay, football is the end-all, be-all. He's not being to this point where my meal ticket's Danny Clark. My son Danny's going to be the person, and we hear about these horror stories of parents who just push their kids into the. And it looks like that he looked at the well-rounded individual that you are and the well-spoken individual that you are, Danny, and you have to be commended for that, for sure. And looking at specifically enough the process of just looking at the importance of academics. Tell us a little bit about your father. Your father's background, is that one of the reasons why specifically enough academics were important in your life?
Well, it's funny. My dad is one of 5 children. He's the third oldest, so he's the middle child. And, he's born in Memphis, Tennessee, came to Chicago, Illinois when he was 2 years old. And basically, he was raised by a single mom. His dad died when he was 7 years old. Daniel Clark, the second, which my dad is the third, and I am the fourth. So we have a lineage of names going on. Of course, I have a Daniel Clark fifth, so we've kept this name going. But my dad just was a guy that he wanted to be different than what he saw around him, and I can truly appreciate it. He didn't live in the most clean neighborhoods and the greatest areas, so he wanted to get us out of the neighborhoods and get us the best education possible and find whatever my child's passion was, and that was a big deal. It's very relative to today. Today I'm in a place where I'm transitioning from playing football to going into the real world, so to speak. And he basically wanted to find out what drives a person. And once he finds that, you use that to the best of your ability as a motivator, as inspiration, something that can propel that child into a higher platform. And I think that's what my dad did, is he basically felt that there was a need to get me above and beyond anything that he's reached, any goal that he's attained. He would like to see his child do that, and I commend him for that.
And I think that's the process, Danny, that a lot of times people who have grown into poverty and aren't able to get out are because of expectations. You can't get out of there. You can't be successful in life. And kids are told that all the time. They're told, you know what, forget about it. You are stuck here. You're always going to be in this place. And then there are parents that truly will struggle, will truly put their kids first in their lives to make sure that they have those higher expectations. That seems like your father, as I read a little bit about, he believed that C's are unacceptable. I think that really spoke to you, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. It kept it. It's all about standards and what your expectations. With my children now, my daughter, she's 4th grade. She's straight A student. When she gets B's, we are a bit disappointed. And it's not because we are sticklers or strict on her, but she's shown us that she can be a straight A student quarter after quarter. So when you have or a letdown in a class, I feel like that's something that we have to work on. We have to go and tune that particular grade up or whatever. And I think that it's expectations, and now she gets disappointed when she doesn't get straight A's. And now it's a thing that is expected now. And then so it goes on, and it carries over to junior high and high school, and even when you get to college. And when you get that first B and that first C, which is tougher. I had to go through that when I got to college. That, you can't, you might have to get a C in college at the University of Illinois. So at the end of the day, I think that always has stuck with me, and it's carried over into me parenting my children and letting them know that C's aren't acceptable. And you use that as again, motivation to find out what their passions are, whether it's ballet or dance.
Yes.
I want to make sure that I keep waving that carrot in front of those children.
And I think that's so important to look at passion. And one of the things I want to do, Danny, it came to me yesterday in specific ways, is I'm a former teacher who is a tutor and consultant, and I said to myself, you know what? So many times I think that people are not getting that advice. Yeah, they get the great grades, but where am I going next? They have the right talent, but who's going to help them get to that next level? Because a lot of times you got to be the right place, right time. And in the NFL, that's that way. College football, you got to have those role models that get you that opportunity. So if we can be that opportunity for somebody, boy, and I think when we talk about that second segment, we're going to find out that's Danny Clark's mission for sure.
Absolutely. I think that once you get to be able to inspire a group of children, I mean, and it's all, that's our future, of course, and we understand that. And our objective, and my objective as an individual, is basically to inspire others to inspire others. So if that makes any sense, I aspire to inspire. And I will want to show a group of children, like once you give them a gift, whether you give them toys for Christmas or you take them on a shopping spree for their birthdays, whatever it is, I just want kids to always understand that when someone does something nice for you, it's not just giving you that gift that you were able to hold, that tangible thing. It's more so of teaching you the opportunity of giving something to someone without even actually knowing them. That's the way, and I'm a man of faith, so I know that, my Savior did the same for us. He didn't know us, but he definitely gave a ton for us. And so I live with that premise at the center of my soul, and I think that sharing that with other people would only change their lives for the better.
And that's so true. And we're talking to Danny Clark, insightful player, former NFL player, played many different teams in the NFL, a great career, a long career. Let's go specifically enough, Danny, to football. You always wanted to be a professional football player. It's a dream, and a lot of kids never can reach that dream, and you were able to. When did you see in high school specifically that, hey, I'm going to be able to play in the college level? When did you finally, was it a certain coach that told you that this is an opportunity? Because your father's really focusing on academics, but tell us that story.
It's so weird. My sophomore year, I started the first 3 games on the sophomore football team, and we played pretty good. We were 3-0, and I had a breakout game against a school called Crete Monique, and I had like 3 touchdowns. I was a quarterback and linebacker, so I threw 2 touchdowns, ran for 1, and I played linebacker, which is not the proper mix of any. If you know any high school quarterback, most high school coaches would not let their quarterback play linebacker. Well, needless to say, we only had 28 people on our team, so everybody had to play both ways. And I was the most physical guy. So needless to say, I was blessed to play really well those first 3 games, and I was brought up to varsity, to the varsity team after that third game. They were like, he's tearing it up down there. Let him play the fellows and see what he can do, And I played pretty well. I had no idea. I thought God put me together in such an awkward way. Like my feet went out, and I was bow-legged, and my arms were kind of skinny. I was super skinny. I was 175 pounds, going into my year. So I received a letter from the University of Tennessee as a sophomore, and I was like, man, that opportunity to go to college, that'd be a big deal. But junior year, I was a standout all-state player in senior year. But junior year, I did not understand that how I had the ability to play linebacker. I thought I'd be a quarterback. Everyone knew me for quarterback, but we know how small that window is for college level. So yeah. I had no idea that I was going to play big-time football on any level for that matter. I thought maybe a D2 or D3 school.
So once Division I schools started looking at you, it must have been like, wow. And was it a hard choice to choose your university, or did it choose you?
Yeah, it's so funny. It chose me all the way. There was a passing camp down at the University of Illinois in Champaign between my junior and senior year. I took a couple of my guys, my receivers, a couple of running backs, and we drove down there and this 7-on-7 passing league at the university. And at the university, the head coach, Lou Tepper, one of my referees was the great Simeon Rice from Illinois, of course, and they offered me a scholarship at that passing camp. Right after my junior year, I basically said, if you promise not to take any other visits to any school and you verbally commit to Illinois, then we'll offer you a scholarship. And I was like, I could not believe it. I was blown away. It's the scholarship offer I ever got, the only scholarship offer I ever got. And I never took any other visits. My only visit was to Illinois, and so I stayed in state. And that was not the school that I dreamt of going to, but I came to going to Michigan, which was another big, Big Ten school, and one of our big schools. That situation didn't work out for a couple of different reasons.
All right, when we get back, more with Danny Clark. We're going to really delve into specifically his career at Illinois, any of the difficulties, especially academics, life on campus, leading to the NFL, and then life after football. Much to go with Danny Clark. You're listening to the Total Education Celebrity Show, powered by the Insightful Player Series. Again, go to insightfulplayer.com on the Simply G Media Network, and we'll be back in just a moment. We're back to the Total Education Celebrity Show on the Total Education Network. Again, TotalTutor.net for more information. Twitter, Total Tutor, Neil S. Haley. Facebook, LinkedIn, Neil Haley, the Insightful Player Series. And every Insightful Player is just such a fantastic individual. And really, their passion to help kids, what a great partnership with the Total Tutor and the Total Education Network. And I'm with Danny Clark, and we're learning Danny's story, and now we're at the University of Illinois, the Fighting Illini. You get to the campus. Did you think you were going to be a pretty big-time player there, or were you still thinking, hey, the jury's still out on me, I have a lot of improvement to become who I want to be on the football field?
Yeah, the jury was out on who Danny Clark was, because I arrived at campus as a 180-pound quarterback, which, played linebacker, which was not normal for any high school player. So I got there playing quarterback for about the first couple of days of training camp. And, it took about the third day or so when they asked me, you know what, we want you to try free safety. And I went to free safety. Still skinny. I redshirted that, and so I wasn't actually competing on the football field, but just in practice. And I became the special teams practice player of the year, and I, tore it up. I always was aggressive in my nature in football. So I went to the defensive side of the ball. I was super skinny, but after that second year, I went up to about 211 pounds, and there was a huge injury to one of my good friends, and allowed me to step in and play linebacker in my redshirt freshman year. So, needless to say, I had no idea that I was anywhere close to a big-time college player, but I did. I was trying to compete with a big-time linebacker in Ohio State. His name was, his name slips me, 45. I can't think of his name, but he was a rookie of the year. And I tried to compete with all his numbers, and I did pretty well. I had better numbers than him, but he was on a winning team and played very well for his ball club. So I did not think I was going to be some, stellar college player, but I did try to hold my own as a freshman.
And so you were pretty good on the field. You had that motivation. But what about in the classroom? How was your experiences at Illinois as a student?
Well, when I arrived at the University of Illinois, my dream outside of football was to be an engineer, to design cars. And so I signed up in the College of Engineering. It was extremely tough. Now, I remember all those grades. I remember that I had to keep C. I couldn't get a C in elementary, junior high, or high school. Well, my first semester at Illinois, I had a C and 2 Ds. Oh. And I'll never forget how horrified I was. And I even attempted to change the grade so my dad wouldn't see it in my first semester. And I'm just baffled at how I, did so poorly. And I really, what it amounted to is I rested on how aggressive I was, or I rested on my morals, or my laurels, or what I did in the past. I'm like, well, I was a good student in high school, so I should be a good student in college. And it was a total different ball game. I just really had to refocus myself on and understanding that I have to really try. Not to say I didn't try in high school, but I have to study and put in the hours and put in the work to be a good student in college. So, my next semester, of course, my grades shot up, and I was in, a B area, which I was more comfortable with than that first semester. Just threw me in shock. And so as a student, I went 4 years. I changed my major to speech communications, where I think that voted, very well for me in the down the long run, because it was something that I was so fearful of. I was scared to speak in front of people, scared to stand up in front of large groups, and now it became a natural occurrence, and it was something that I was very, very comfortable with down the road.
And definitely that's interesting that you got involved in that at school. So we're going to go into that, I guess, life after football for sure. So we jump into specifically enough. You're a standout at Illinois. You're doing really well. Did you ever think that NFL teams would be coming calling on you? When did you finally see that was going to happen?
Well, as a junior, in the classroom, I graduated with my speech communications degree in 4 years. So I remember I redshirted, so I had 5 years of school. I graduated in 4 years with a speech comm degree, and then I attended graduate school in my 5th year. So in my junior year on the football field, I had a standout year, played really well, but we had some horrible teams in Illinois. So I was a good guy playing on a bad team, and there's nothing against my teammates. I have great teammates, great friendships and relationships, but we didn't play well at all. I probably won all 13 games in my 5 years of college. So, so we had a rough spell on the football field. So I just felt like I was a really good player, but the NFL was okay until I started hearing from agents, and that was going into my senior year. And they felt like, you have an opportunity to be drafted next year, and so make sure that you do whatever you have to do to keep your nose clean. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll just embrace it, whatever. And so after my last season, we went to the first bowl game of my last season. We won 8 games. And so that tells you how many games we won in the first 5 of them. I think 5 games. So, yeah, so, I think that, going through that process and getting to my senior year where I'm hearing agents tell me that I'm going to be drafted, I truly appreciate that. And, now to speak about when and where I got drafted is the next topic or the next segment, and maybe this is a segue to it.
We're definitely going to the segue of it, Danny, and that's the nice thing of, again, it's your radio station. You could choose where we're going on this, and basically now, Danny, it's now time to give us the story, as specifically enough, getting drafted in the NFL, the story of getting into the NFL, and kind of just summarizing in a few words after that about your career, because I really want to get into life after football.
Okay, that's cool. I'll give you a brief synopsis of what draft day or the drafting process would be. I call it the best and the worst day of my life. I was expected, or I was predicted to be drafted in the 2nd round. I was one of the most productive linebackers in the Big Ten that year. But I was projected to go in the 2nd round, and then the draft was broken into 2 days. So there was the first 3 rounds on the first day, and the last 4 rounds in the 2nd day. Well, needless to say, I did not go in the 2nd round or the 3rd round. So I had a whole day to wait until to see when I would get drafted. My family is going bananas, and people are calling my phone all day, which there was no cell phones then. So if you're taking things to call me, you got your friends down the street saying, "Hey, man, you get drafted?" So that was driving us crazy. We got more calls from friends than we got from NFL teams. And so 4th round went, 5th round went, 6th round went, and I didn't get picked to pick 245 in the 7th round of the 2000 draft. So while I was thankful that, Tom Coughlin and his staff thought highly enough to pick me in the 7th round, I was so disappointed in the process, and I felt I had a chip on my shoulder my entire career because of it. So, I looked at it, 7th round, a guy is not given a lot of opportunities. You got to basically climb your way in through the basement door of the National Football League and make your way, state your claim, and show that you belong in that league. And that was my trek going into the league. Got drafted in Jacksonville. I played my first 4 years there. I went to play 2 years in Oakland, and while I was most productive in my career, Pro Bowl ultimate and 130 tackles on average. And then I went down in 2006 and played in New Orleans for the Saints. Right after Hurricane Katrina. They went through Hurricane Katrina and reopened the dome on September 25th, 2006, which was my most memorable game by far. The community just bonded together in such a way that it's something that I could never even imagine. But people had no places to go, but they came to a football game that essentially gave them life again and reopened a city wide open. So I played there in 2006, 2007. I played in Houston for the Texans. We had an 8-8 football season for Coach Kubiak, and then 2008 to 2009, I played for the New York Football Giants, which was my favorite place to play. Favorite organization in all of football. Great experience, and they just won the Super Bowl in 2008. And I came right on the tail end of that thing, and came in with an even better team after that Super Bowl season. But unfortunately, one of my teammates had an altercation in the club and harmed himself. And I think you probably can remember that.
Hey, Nick, because he's a Pittsburgh guy. I'm not going to go into that. Maybe we could talk off air on that one. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So, we were 11-1 when that happened. And, of course, we finished the season 12-4. So that tells you how the rest of that year went. And then, I came back. I signed to the Texans once again in May 2010. And I ended up playing for the Saints. I signed to them in September 2010, and I played my last season, started 11 games as a Sam linebacker for the New Orleans Saints, which was such a treat because they had just won the Super Bowl in 2009. So, again, there's two different situations where I came in the team missing the Super Bowl, but by no means did that define me. I had more than the amount of years that I expected, and the experiences, the platform of the NFL was grand. I can totally appreciate every snap, every play I've had in that league.
Wow, Danny. And like I said, I could just interview you on your career. So the way I want to go to this is really the most important thing on this show is to highlight what's the importance of being an insightful player. And I think that bringing the insightful player, being an insightful player, and what it means to you, and then also your life after football, they really connect in a lot of ways. So tell me what it means to be an insightful player of Coach Carew. What does that mean, Danny, to you?
I believe that, to be an insightful player, you have to possess a unselfish personality or attitude about life. You feel like you should find this planet, or you should leave this planet, in a better shape than you found it. And so when you have an idea or opportunity to embrace a group of kids or youth or even in people at your church, like you just want to make sure that do you enhance that person's life or do you take away from it? And I think that was God's purpose in my life. And I had no idea of what the role of football played. Growing up, I just thought that was the big ticket. That was a big deal, And as we spoke earlier, we said my dad knew that was not the objective, but it was used as a platform to gain followers, in my opinion, to get people to look at, say, who is this Danny Clark kid, and why? How did he make it to the highest level? He was not the strongest, he was not the fastest, but why did he ascend to these levels, to these extremes? And so I think that, being a man of faith, I think that God had a plan for me to get in front of the masses and touch as many people as I can touch and guide them to a life of humility, a life of uplifting others, a life of faith. And that's the bottom line. Is I think that's where I've become, that's where I am most comfortable speaking, is sharing the word of God and being able to say, you know what, this is a better way to live. This is how to treat your neighbor. This is how to uplift your children. This is how to raise your children. And this is how to treat fellow man. So I think that's where my transition has been, becoming an insightful player, being in the NFL in my past. That was just one portion of my life. But by no means does that define who I am and where I'm going. I think that there's so much more to my story that lies ahead, and I can't wait for that chapter to unfold.
So you're using your prestige, your ability to be a superstar football player and have a fan following, and now you're going to make a difference in other people's lives. And you saw that from the Hurricane Katrina. I'd love to talk to you about that at one point in time. That experience alone changed you. Your father changed you in so many ways. Some of the humility that he taught you throughout your life. And then, okay, I am so blessed to have the opportunity to play football, but God had me play football for a reason, so I can make a difference in other people's lives. Then Insightful Player comes on, your foundation as well. So tell us why you created the Danny Clark 55 Foundation as well.
Well, the Danny Clark Foundation was inspired by my second youngest son, Daniel Clark the Fifth. We call him Nicky. He was born on March 11, 2002. 1 pound, 13 ounces, 25 weeks gestation. He was barely fit in my left hand. Man, it was just unbelievable to see, and I didn't understand how God worked at that point. I was just like, man, just please take care of him, keep him here, and allow him to persevere through this madness. He's going through the toughest part of his life in the first 3 months of his life. I mean, just being in the incubator, all these machines hooked up to this small, fragile child, which his skin was basically see-through, and you could see his organs underneath his skin. It was just like that thin, And so, I would watch his mother cry on a daily, and see that I watched the staff of that NICTU unit that basically they stayed night and day looking after our child. And I always commend them. We take the child back there to visit them. But more importantly, they did great, but I felt like there could be more support for the family, not only just the child.
Yes.
And so we started the Daniel Clark or the Danny Clark Foundation in light of Nicky, which it builds support around neonatal youth and their families, not just the children, but their families. And I felt like there was so much more that can be done to have a shoulder to cry on for the family and more support. So it started off as that being just catering to premature children. And I went to the board of the foundation, and I was like, you know what? This is what we're going to focus on. This is where our passion is. We have our Nicky, and he is at this point, he was 6 years old at the time.
Okay.
And healthy, not one ailment.
Great. That's fantastic.
He is right now, he's 11 years old. He'll be 12 in March. Fantastic kid, 3-sport athlete, honor student, of course. And to me, it's just like that was God's way. I always call him my miracle baby because he's somebody that had all the odds against him. The doctor said he has 30% chance to live, and right now he doesn't even know he had all these issues. So, we spread it out. I went to the board, and they were like, I feel like that is just localized cause that we're working for.
Yes.
Why not reach out to all underserved young people and reach out to them and see if we can inspire them in some way, shape, or fashion? And that's why we reached out to underserved youth in every city that I've played in and in cities in between. I felt like anywhere we can help some people to inspire young people to be better and inspire them to give and treat other people better, that would be something that would go on for a lifetime. And I think that's where the Danny Clark Foundation came from.
That's a tremendous story, Danny, and to be involved in that foundation for sure, and all these different things, and to hear your story about the Insightful Player, and you're definitely an insightful player after we've heard so much of what you're doing with the empowering youth and life after. Is there anything else? We have about 30 seconds about life after football and to find more information on you. There's so many stories to touch upon with you, Danny. One interview is not enough time for sure. And I thought we covered oodles and noodles of content in this time, but give us a last tidbit of basically life after football in 30 seconds for you, Danny.
Well, life after football for Danny Clark is I've taken on this concept of I put God into everything I think, say, and do. And I advise that for anyone that has any question about where they are, any doubt in their lives, go to God about it and basically have him direct your path. And secondly, and I'm not a big social media guy, but I do have Twitter. If somebody wants to reach out to me for any questions, I'm at @WeAreDannyClark. And that's the best way to get in contact with me. But importantly, I want you to have all attention on our father, and that's my objective after playing football.
Well, I'll be tweeting this out to all the syndicated stations that air the show, Danny, and best of luck to you. And I really have to look at a lot of topics that we need to cover further to come back on the show, and I'll reach out to you for sure. I think the Hurricane Katrina story is a fantastic story. You have a lot of different things. I see a book in the future. You think about that, Danny, because there's a lot of areas that definitely you have a great story to tell, so it was great talking to you.
Absolutely. I really appreciate you, Neil.
All right, take care, Danny. All right, bye-bye. You're listening to the Total Education Celebrity Show, powered by the Insightful Players Series, and we'll be back in just a moment.